equals the sound of the wind rustling through the trees outside my window stirred me from sleep. I blinked my eyes open, greeted by the soft morning light filtering through the sheer curtains. I could hear the birds chirping in a rhythm that felt almost like a melody. Cedar Creek was waking up, and with it, an undercurrent of tension thrummed in my chest, a foreshadowing I was beginning to notice more clearly every day. I stretched, my body protesting as I shook off the remnants of sleep and slipped out from beneath the covers. The cool floorboards felt refreshing against my bare feet. Glancing at the clock on my bedside table, I noted it was just past 7 in the morning. I could smell freshly brewed coffee wafting in from the kitchen, a comforting aroma that wrapped around me like a warm embrace. I walked toward the kitchen, and my stomach growled in anticipation of breakfast. Morning, sunshine. My best friend, Lisa, stood at the counter, pouring herself a cup of coffee. You look like you just rolled out of bed. Oh, wait, you did. There was a mischief in her eyes, the spark of playful teasing that never failed to lighten my mood. Thanks for the update, Lisa. You know how to flatter a girl. Coffee smells amazing. Can I have some? I poured a generous amount into my favorite chipped mug. It read Live, Laugh, Love, and while I often chuckled at its cliché cheerfulness, it had been a birthday gift from my grandmother, so I kept it close. What's the plan today? Lisa sipped her coffee, her dark hair cascading over her shoulders. Her scrubs suggested she'd be heading into the hospital moments after our morning catch-up. I thought I'd take a walk by the creek. It is so peaceful in the mornings, and I could use some nature therapy. I took a sip, feeling the warmth spread through my body. Cedar Creek was beautiful during the fall, the trees ablaze with shades of orange and red. Sounds lovely, but don't forget to be home in time for dinner tonight. We need to go over those reports for the charity gala. I can't believe we only have a week left to pull everything together. I nodded, recalling how much I had grown to love our little town over the years, especially now, under the familiar cloak of autumn. I'll be back in plenty of time. Speaking of which, I should finish my breakfast before heading out. I moved to grab the eggs from the fridge. Oh, that reminds me, Lisa said, her voice a bit more serious. Did you hear about the incident over at Baker's Marina last night? My heart skipped a beat. The marina wasn't just a local hangout. It was where I had spent my summers as a child, fishing with my grandfather and laughing with friends. No, what happened? I cracked the eggs and began scrambling them in the pan, the sizzle filling the air. Apparently, a huge brawl broke out between some of the regulars. From what I heard, it got pretty ugly and the police had to be called. She leaned against the counter, her expression turning grave. I furrowed my brows, my thoughts racing. That's strange. Everyone around here usually gets along. As I stirred the eggs, the smell of buttery goodness filled the air. Yeah, exactly. But word is that it had something to do with some new guy in town. They say he started picking fights, and then it all spiraled out of control. I remembered the man I had seen at the marina a few days earlier. Tall, with a rugged look, he had something about him that felt off. A chill ran through me, and I suddenly felt uneasy, remembering how intense his stare had been when he had caught me watching him. What do you think? I mean, do you feel safe? Lisa asked, her eyes searching mine for answers she knew I did not have. I don't know, Lisa. I wish I could say it's just the quiet of the season, but there is something unsettling in the air lately. I flipped the eggs onto a plate, anxiety knotting my stomach. Maybe things will settle down. It's probably just a one-time thing. People get rowdy when the weather changes. Maybe we should keep our eyes peeled but try not to worry too much. I took a seat at the worn kitchen table, burrs of unshakable tension settling between us. Yeah, you're right. We have enough to focus on with the gala coming up. Speaking of which, what should I wear? Any suggestions? The switch from uncertainty to excitement was quick, and her eyes sparkled at the thought of dressing up. You know, I still have that navy blue dress from last year. It always makes you look amazing. I replied, trying my best to steer her away from the ominous topic. She sighed dramatically, as if I had insulted her. I wore that dress to the last 3 events, Marina. Come on. I chuckled, imagining her frustration at being forced to recycle an outfit in such a tight-knit community. Okay, what about that red dress? That is a showstopper. You mean the one that almost burned a hole in my closet because I wore it so often? Lisa's brows shot up as she leaned toward me conspiratorially. That red dress should have its own personality at this point. I laughed, her dramatics echoing through the small kitchen. The tension began to disperse into the laughter that brightened our morning. All right, I'll help you find something fabulous, I promised, hoping the cheerfulness would last a little longer. I finished my breakfast, grateful for the escape. After washing my dishes, I donned my favorite navy jacket, the one that made me feel fearless. I guess I should take that walk now, I said, forgetting about the morning news from the marina. The sun was shining brightly, casting golden rays through the trees lining our street. With each step down the creaking front stairs, I could feel the warmth of the sun on my skin. I inhaled deeply, the brisk air offering an invigorating freshness. It was the perfect kickoff for what I expected would be a calm day. As I reached the edge of Cedar Creek, I paused for a moment, taking in the lively chatter of children playing in the nearby park. Their laughter danced on the gentle breeze, a sweet sound that tugged at the corners of my lips. Just beyond the park, the creek flowed quietly, glistening under the sun like a sheet of glass. I changed direction. A stroll by the water was usually a remedy for worries. The path was familiar, lined with clusters of wildflowers swaying in the gentle breeze, the scent of damp earth and blooming petals mixing with my invigorated breath. The colors along the path were captivating. The trees, adorned with yellows, oranges, and reds, seemed to catch fire against the clear blue sky. As I walked, I was lost in my thoughts, the beauty of Cedar Creek wrapping around me like a warm blanket. It was a temporary refuge, a world apart from whatever chaos unfolded last night. I finally reached the creek, the sound of water trickling over stones whispering softly, inviting me closer. I had always found solace here, the slow, deliberate flow of the water a comforting reminder of life's constancy. I perched on an old log that had fallen by the bank, feeling the sun on my face. "This is perfect," I said to myself, the tranquility enveloping me. I closed my eyes, letting the sounds of nature wash over me as I took a few deep breaths. I missed the innocence of childhood, the carelessness of summers spent by the water without a worry in the world. "Hey there." A deep voice jolted me from my reverie. I opened my eyes to see a figure standing a few feet away, the sun glinting off his dark hair and casting a shadow over his strong jawline. It was the man I had seen at the marina a few days prior. My heart raced, a mix of anxiety and curiosity coursing through me. Hello," I replied, standing up to face him. "I didn't mean to startle you. I just wanted to say hi." "I am new here," he said with a casual smile that transformed his angular features. His eyes were a striking blue, something almost magnetic about them, and they held my gaze a moment too long. "I noticed you were at the marina last week." "Yes, I was just visiting," I found myself saying, unsure of why I was even talking to him. "It's a great spot, isn't it?" He stepped closer, the air filled with a sudden sense of intimacy. "I love the feeling of the water. It reminds me of home." There was something charming yet unsettling in his demeanor. I instinctively took a step back. "Yeah, it's nice, very peaceful." The sound of the water rushing over rocks became more pronounced between us as a silence lingered. The hairs on the back of my neck bristled, and I could feel the pulse in my ears quicken. I needed to break the tension. "Well, it's nice to meet you, Ethan," he supplied, his smile widening. "I just moved here from the city. It's a breath of fresh air." He gestured to the surroundings, and for a fleeting moment I could see how he might fit in. But the memory of the brawl flickered in my mind. "Yeah, most of the people here are friendly, but we can be a bit set in our ways." He chuckled softly, a sound I marked as genuine. "I can handle it. People in the city can be tough." I raised an eyebrow, a small smile creeping onto my face despite the rising anxieties. "So I'd assume you're not the fighting type." "Not at all," he replied, surprisingly serious, his smile fading just slightly. "I only fight when it's necessary." I could sense the weight behind his words, but that was no longer of my concern. I felt like I was trapped in a moment that could shift from ordinary to tumultuous at any moment, a storm moving in just out of sight. I waved my hand dismissively, the unease between us pressing heavier on the chest. "Well, I guess you'll get used to Cedar Creek. We are a close-knit bunch." "A tight-knit community, huh? I think I can appreciate that," he mused, but something in the tone of his voice hinted otherwise. "Just so you know, be wary of the locals, especially if you end up at the marina again." "Is that so?" he asked, his brows knitting together in sincere interest. "Good advice. I definitely think I should." A wry smile danced on my lips as I felt the moment shift. I should get back. "I promised my friend I would help her prepare for a charity event," I said, trying to edge away, the knot in my stomach reminding me of the undertow I somewhat feared. "Nice meeting you, Ethan." I turned on my heel, eager to put distance between us. My heart raced as I walked away, his presence lingering behind me like a shadow. I quickened my pace, thoughts spiraling. Why did he have to show up today? Cedar Creek was supposed to be my safe haven, untouched by the chaos of the previous night. But with every step I took away from the creek, I felt the storm brewing, an unsettling sense of foreboding weaving itself into the very fabric of my day. I barely managed to chuckle at Lisa's insistence about the gala as I headed home, my mind racing back to Ethan and the wild stories I had heard. Stories I secretly wished I could forget, but knew were woven far too tightly into the fabric of our little town. Something was coming. I could feel it in my bones. Cedar Creek wouldn't be the same after this day, not while shadows of the past lurked just beneath the surface. Waiting to strike, Marina Thompson sat in the living room of her cozy little house in Cedar Creek, the warm light of the afternoon sun spilling through the windows. The scent of fresh coffee lingered in the air, mixed with the faint aroma of the lavender candles she had lit just to calm her nerves. It had only been a week since she had decided to take the plunge and seek revenge against Sarah, the friend who had stabbed her in the back when she needed Sarah the most. I can't believe she would do this, Marina muttered to herself, staring at her phone. It lay face down on the coffee table, a device that once felt like a lifeline now felt more like an anchor weighing her down. Sarah had betrayed her trust, her friendship. She had swooped in and taken the promotion Marina had worked so hard for. How could someone smile at you while plotting your downfall? It baffled her, stirred something dark and dormant deep within, igniting a fire, a longing for justice that was palpable. It was a twisted sense of purity, her own righteousness lighting her path to revenge. What would be the perfect way to make her pay? She mused, her fingers drumming nervously against the table's surface. The rhythmic sound echoed in the otherwise still room. Part of her still wanted to reach out and hear Sarah's side, but another, more aggressive voice inside her head urged her to take action. You don't need her explanation, she whispered under her breath, a self-affirming reminder. You need to make her feel the way you feel. The doorbell surprised her, shaking her out of her thoughts. She hesitated for just a moment, her heart racing slightly as she walked to the door. Who could that be? She opened it cautiously, revealing Kelly, her neighbor and sometimes confidant. Marina, good to see you. Kelly's enthusiasm was infectious as she stepped inside. Her long, curly hair bounced as she moved, and the bright pink of her blouse seemed to brighten the room even more. Hi, Kelly, Marina replied, forcing a smile, determined to forget the chaos swirling inside her. What brings you here? She led Kelly to the living room, the lively chatter between them filling the space with an easy comfort that Marina desperately needed right now. I just finished a project over at the community center and thought I would swing by. Plus, I had a feeling you might need some company, Kelly said, her eyes starting to twinkle with mischief. What's going on with you? You seem a little off. Marina took a deep breath, her mind scrambling for a way past the truth. I have just been working a lot. You know how it gets when the weather gets colder and the holidays are approaching. So much to do. I get it. The world just seems to speed up and you're left spinning on this hamster wheel, right? Kelly laughed lightly. And your hair looks fabulous, by the way. Did you get it done? Marina touched her hair absently, appreciating the compliment even though it went mostly unnoticed. Thanks, I just trimmed it a bit, nothing major. She was aware that she had been too consumed with thoughts of revenge to even notice her own appearance lately. Marina, you are way too beautiful to be so hard on yourself. You deserve to go out and have some fun, Kelly insisted, her face lighting up with excitement. We could go to that new restaurant that just opened downtown. I hear their tacos are to die for. This was a distraction Marina had not anticipated. Oh, I don't know, she started. The thought of going out filled her with anxiety. You need to blow off some steam. Come on, just for one night, I'll treat you, Kelly said, her voice persuasive. Plus, I could use your fashion advice. At that, Marina chuckled, unable to resist the warmth of her friend's enthusiasm. All right, but I have to change first. Great, I will make us a couple of drinks while you get ready, Kelly declared, her voice filled with determination as she headed toward the kitchen. The moment Kelly turned away, Marina felt a twist in her stomach. What was she doing? This was supposed to be her moment of vengeance. How could she go out and enjoy tacos while Sarah basked in her success? The internal fight inside her continued, but somehow Kelly's unflagging spirit began to soothe those haunted thoughts, if only for a fleeting moment. As she changed into a black sweater and her favorite jeans, she caught her reflection in the mirror, her eyes wide and glossy. You've got to put on a brave face, she whispered to herself. Just pretend everything is fine. As Marina walked back into the living room, she discovered Kelly had prepared two bright cocktails, One was pink, the other a deeper red, garnished with slices of lime. "Oh wow, did you go all out?" Marina said, her mood lifted a tad. "Well, if I am treating you, it better be special." Kelly winked, handing her a drink. "Cheers." Marina clinked her glass against Kelly's, allowing herself a small laugh. The tension within her had eased slightly. Maybe a night out with a friend could help her focus on something other than revenge for just a moment. They sipped their drinks as they talked about everything from work to relationships. The light-hearted conversation coupled with the laughter felt refreshing. They were almost at their destination when she caught sight of the restaurant's glowing neon sign. "This is it, Marina. Your first time here, so I expect you to be blown away by the food," Kelly announced, her eyes sparkling with eagerness. "I hope you have your game face on," she said teasingly as they stepped inside. The atmosphere engulfed them, the vibrant decor filling her senses. The walls were a mixture of deep earth tones adorned with colorful murals portraying traditional Mexican scenes. Lively music played in the background, making it hard not to move along to the beat. The spicy scent of grilled meats and fresh herbs danced around them. "You smell that?" Kelly said, closing her eyes as if savoring the aroma. "That is heaven." They settled down at a table near the window, and as they scanned the menu, Marina couldn't help but feel lighter. "What do you think you're going to order?" Kelly asked, glancing up with curiosity. "Probably the tacos," Marina replied, her stomach growling in response. "Me too. We should each get a different kind and then just share everything. I love doing that." As they took turns placing the orders, they experienced the growing anticipation of a feast. Over the next hour, they dined on their plates filled with vibrant dishes, accompanied by salsa that was just spicy enough to make them sweat. Laughter flowed as freely as the drinks, Kelly's animated stories captivating Marina entirely. For a brief period, with laughter ringing in her ears, Marina lost herself in the camaraderie, forgetting about Sarah and the anger burning inside her. "So, who is that guy I keep seeing you with at work?" "He seems nice," Kelly asked suddenly, her brows lifted and playfulness sparkling in her eyes. "Oh, him. He is just a colleague. We work together, but nothing romantic," Marina replied, waving it off. "You're lying. I see the way he looks at you and I can tell you like him," Kelly pushed, grinning widely. Marina felt her cheeks warm, deciding to deflect the conversation. "Let's just enjoy the food." She embraced the warmth of the moment, savoring the flavors of the meal and the comfort of friendship as she willed herself to push aside her dark intentions. But as the evening wore on, each laugh felt closer to the last, and eventually a creeping darkness edged its way back into her mind. "Marina, tell me your secrets," Kelly urged, finishing her drink. "Okay, I can tell you this. I want revenge," Marina blurted out before she could stop herself. Kelly raised an eyebrow, her mouth opening in surprise. "Whoa, who's the target?" "Sarah," she said, tasting the name bitterly. Kelly leaned in closer, her interest fully piqued. "What happened?" Marina took a deep breath as she delved into the story, how Sarah had moved in, undercut her at work, snagged that promotion, and left her feeling betrayed. It felt good to let it out, to voice her frustration. "She was my best friend, Kelly. I trusted her." "That is awful. I had no idea. How could she do that?" Kelly's eyes widened, taking in the magnitude of Marina's pain. "I know she did it purposefully. I am not going to let her get away with this," Marina said, her voice growing stronger with conviction. Kelly leaned back in her chair, thoughtful. "What do you plan to do?" "I haven't quite figured that part out yet, but I will make her feel what I felt. You don't just walk into someone's life and take what is theirs, especially when they trust you the most." The words burned in her chest like molten lava, fiercely bubbling beneath her surface. "Then let's brainstorm," Kelly said enthusiastically. "What are some of her weaknesses?" "Well, she tends to be a little, let's say," Marina paused, searching for the right word, "obsessive about her image. You know, social media, appearances, that sort of thing." "Ah, I have an idea. What if we stage something that reveals her true self? Like a dramatic display that's sure to go viral." Kelly suggested, her eyes lighting up with mischief. The thought sent a thrill through Marina, the wheels in her mind began to turn. "That would expose her for sure." "Exactly. You could set her up to embarrass herself in front of everyone," Kelly noted smugly, a grin stretching across her lips. "I am in," Marina said, suddenly filled with exhilaration as the anger finally seemed to shift into a tangible plan. "Let's do this." And just like that, the battle lines were drawn. It was time for her to embrace the spiral of revenge. As they left the restaurant, the night air felt thick and electric, charged with new possibilities. With Kelly beside her, the thirst for justice pulsed through her veins. igniting a fire that would not easily be extinguished. I stood outside the Cedar Creek Bar and Grill, the neon lights flickering like a pulse in the cool evening air. The tongue of the flickering sign seemed to sing a siren song, promising comfort in the form of greasy fries and cheap beer. But I was not here for the comforts of home. I was here for a reckoning, and the familiar scent of fried food mixed with spilled beer was the last thing on my mind. It had been a week since I'd confronted my nemesis, Callum Reed, and the anticipation simmered in my bones like a live wire. Inside, I could hear laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the unmistakable sound of an electric guitar riff cutting through the air, making my stomach flutter with a mix of nerves and excitement. I adjusted my grip on the small black purse containing the key to his downfall. A flash of doubt crept through me. What if this all went wrong? What if I was not strong enough to finish what I started? I could turn back now, disappear into the fog of Cedar Creek and return to my mundane life. But the thought of Callum smirking at my defeat was enough to propel me forward. I pushed the door open and stepped inside, the sudden warmth enveloping me like a welcome embrace. The bar was crowded, filled with familiar faces swirling in a haze of laughter and camaraderie. I scanned the room, letting my eyes latch onto the target that had haunted my dreams for years. Callum was leaning against the bar, his broad shoulders relaxed, an insufferable grin plastered across his face, as if he owned the whole place. He was surrounded by a gaggle of friends, but my heart only focused on him. The ghost of my past stood there, the boy who had turned my life upside down when I was just 18. I could still feel the sting of betrayal, the acid burn of anger that had fueled my desire for revenge. I could not let that go unpunished. As I walked further into the bar, I felt the weight of my plan. I had gone over it a dozen times in my mind, rehearsed the dialogue, and perfected my facade. I just had to stay cool, play it smart, and lure him away from his entourage. I slid into a seat at the bar, removed my jacket, and draped it over the back of my chair. I signaled the bartender for a drink, my eyes never leaving Callum. The bartender, a young woman with tattoos snaking up her arms, nodded at me knowingly before sliding a whiskey glass in my direction. "On the rocks?" she asked, her voice smooth but firm. "Just straight up," I replied, my own voice steadier than I felt inside. I needed to keep my head clear tonight. The whiskey slid down my throat warm and smooth, quelling the fire of anxiety brewing within me. I thought about how Callum had ruined me, shattered my dreams, left me scrambling to piece myself back together. Those memories were sharp enough to cut through the noise of the bar, but I was here now to reclaim my life, to erase him from my narrative. Underneath the bar's dim light, I spotted Caroline, my old friend and ally. She was sitting at a nearby table with a couple of acquaintances and raised her glass towards me, her eyes dancing with mischief. I gestured her to join me, needing the strength of a friend by my side. She walked over, her blonde hair swaying as she approached. "You came," she grinned, settling beside me. "I thought there was a chance you might bail." "Bail after my heart is set on revenge? Never." I chuckled, my voice low but filled with intensity. "I can practically taste it. What are you going to do?" "I mean, you really think this is going to end well?" Caroline asked, her brow furrowing in concern. I sighed, feeling that pinch of uncertainty tighten around my chest. "It has to, Caroline, it just has to. I've waited too long." She nodded, searching my gaze for something. I wasn't sure if she would find it or not. "Okay, I'll be right here if you need me." I offered her a grateful smile and then steeled myself for the moment. I had waited for an opportunity like this, and I wasn't going to back down now. I took another sip of my whiskey, savoring the flame of the alcohol as it mingled with my determination. Callum's laughter echoed through the crowd and pulled me from my thoughts. He was joking with his friends, his face lit up with unearned joy, as he always had. With a deep breath, I decided to put my plan into motion. I scooted back from the bar, catching the attention of one of his friends, a grinning guy named Pete who had always been a little too eager to impress. "Hey, Callum," I called, injecting a brightness in my voice that I barely felt. The crowd turned, and Callum's laughter fizzled to a halt as his eyes met mine. The expression on his face shifted, confusion laced with surprise. "Marina, holy crap," he said, his familiarity with my name both infuriating and satisfying. "What are you doing here?" I walked closer, my heart pounding harder with each step. "Good to see you too, Callum. I wanted to chat." His friends snickered, exchanging glances like they knew something I did not. His posture shifted, and I could see the gears turning in his head, calculating risk and reward. "Right now, you want to talk here?" I feigned innocence, tilting my head slightly. Why not? We have so much to catch up on. I caught Caroline's eye across the bar, and she nodded, giving me a small thumbs up. Okay, let's talk, Callum said, his bravado fighting to reclaim his confidence. He brushed off his friends, and they reluctantly peeled away, leaving us standing uncomfortably close together. What's on your mind? He asked, a trace of familiarity creeping back into his tone, like a poisonous vine threatening to wrap around my heart. I hated that part of him, the part that could still charm with just a few simple words. Just wanted to see how you were doing, I said, forcing a smile that felt like it was made of razor blades. Looks like life is treating you pretty well. Yeah, busy with work, he replied casually, leaning back slightly as if I were a stray dog he was cautiously observing. And you, still doing that art thing? Anger bubbled in my chest. It was always the same condescending tone from him, as if my life's passion and pursuit meant nothing. It's more than just a thing, Callum. You wouldn't know much about real talent, would you? His face flickered for a fraction of a second, and I watched as his smirk faltered, then regained strength. Touché, so what's the play here? You can't just come in out of the blue after all these years and hit me with passive-aggressive insults. Why do you think I'm here? I challenged, my heart racing. You know why. I want to set the record straight. Set the record straight? He laughed, a bark of disbelief. You're acting like there's something to fix. You've really got an ego, don't you? I shot back, feeling the familiar heat of confrontation rising. You thought I'd just pick up the pieces and disappear. His eyes sharpened like daggers. I'm not responsible for how you felt, Marina. I stepped closer, closing the distance between us. My heart pounded louder in my ears, and I reveled in that thrill mixed with my rage. But you are responsible for what you did. It wasn't just feelings, Callum. You shattered my dreams. Do you even realize the ripple effect? The laughter around us faded, leaving just the electric tension, raw and palpable. He couldn't meet my gaze, and that was when I knew I struck a chord. I didn't think you'd turn into such a bitter person. It's kind of sad, really. You should let it go. Let it go, after everything. You want me to forgive you. I don't think so, I spat, the venom lacing my voice like it was what I had needed to say for years. His expression morphed into something unexpected, a faint tightness around his mouth. Perhaps he had not considered the consequences of his actions, those years of torment. Look, Marina, I was a kid then. We all made mistakes. Your mistake destroyed my life. The air crackled between us, his defenses lowering ever so slightly. But you're still here, I see, he said, trying to twist my words against me. I could hear the softest hint of pleading in his voice, and that surprised me. You moved on. Do I look moved on? I countered, letting the madness of my emotions guide me. You think everything is fine now? The tension hung thick as he measured me, his eyes narrowing slightly as if searching for something beyond my words and bravado. A split second passed, and a flicker of something darker moved behind his charming facade. You don't know me, Marina. You have no idea what I've been through. I raised an eyebrow. Oh, please, enlighten me. I'm dying to hear how it was harder for you. My sarcasm dripped like honey, thick and suffocating. His body stiffened, and I could see the faintest tremor in his hand that tempted the idea of retreat. I'm not here to talk about that, he said, turning his head to the side, avoiding my gaze. Then what are you here for? I challenged. Are you hoping I'll just forget everything, wash away those years of anguish? You can't keep holding on to the past, he said, that familiar arrogance creeping back into his voice as a last-ditch effort to regain the upper hand. You need to let it go. It's pathetic. My blood boiled, igniting fires of fury in my chest. Pathetic. This is about survival, Callum. About reclaiming my life from the wreckage you left behind. His face morphed, a flicker of uncertainty brimming under the surface. You really think you can just walk back into my life and expect things to change? I stepped closer, my voice lowering but more intense than ever. I guess I'm here to prove that they can. With a sudden spark of audacity, I reached into my purse and retrieved a small folded-up paper, the weight of my plan so much more significant in this moment. This is the proof you'll never forget. I unfolded the paper, revealing the photographs inside, pictures I'd procured from my source, images of Callum's wingman, the one who had called himself my friend and led me to believe I was wasting my life on art instead of moving forward. I slid the images across the bar towards Callum, watching as his expression darkened. What is this? He spat, glancing at the paper with confusion morphing into anger. What are you talking about? I leaned in, letting my voice drop. This is your reckoning, Callum. You can try to run, but this time you aren't leaving me behind. His eyes flicked to me, recognition dawning suddenly, and I could see the whole facade cracking. What did you do? What I should have done years ago, I whispered, savoring the thrill of finally taking back my narrative. You underestimated me, didn't you? A wave of satisfaction laced through me, the adrenaline of power and control surging. I held my gaze firm. This is just the beginning. With that, I turned and walked away, feeling the weight of his disbelieving stare bore into my back like an arrow aimed at my heart. Behind me, I could hear the disarray of his thoughts swirling into confusion, his friends falling into uneasy silence. I felt Caroline's presence back at my side, her eyes wide and sparkling with surprise. Marina, you did it! You actually did it! The excitement spilled out of her voice, and I smirked, a flicker of triumph igniting deep within. This is far from over, I said, a newfound strength solidifying my stance. I was ready to face whatever came next because I had finally stepped into my power, no longer the girl he remembered. I would make sure he and the world knew I was back, better than before, and craving my long-awaited revenge. The sound of the rain tapping against the window felt like a steady drumbeat, an eerie rhythm that echoed the tightening ball of tension inside my chest. I stood in the dimly lit corner of my small living room, staring at the flickering candlelight that swayed with the draft sneaking through the old windows of my Cedar Creek home. This was the night I had been waiting for, the night I had crafted each detail of my revenge with painstaking precision. I glanced at the clock. Its hands crawled toward the hour I had set for Laura to arrive. Just a few more minutes and everything would change. Are you really going to go through with this? I muttered to myself, my thoughts racing. The shadows in the room seemed to grow darker, as if they were whispering doubts into my mind. But how could I back down now? After everything she had done to me, after the way she had tossed my life aside as if it were nothing more than a mere inconvenience, I couldn't let her off the hook. The scars she left on my heart needed to be addressed, and tonight, I would finally confront her and make her see the damage she had caused. A chill ran down my spine as I caught my reflection in the window. I looked different, hardened, with a fierce determination that replaced the softness that once made me who I was. Gone was the woman who would back down in the face of confrontation. The dark curls of my hair cascaded wildly around my shoulders, framing my face like a lioness preparing to pounce. I sighed, feeling the weight of my decision settle heavily in my chest. The doorbell rang, shattering the intense silence of the room. My heart leapt into my throat. This was it. I walked over to the door, my footsteps heavy on the wooden floor, and took a deep breath to steady my nerves. With a quick flash, I reminded myself of every reason I was here. Her deceit had ripped apart the fabric of my friendship, nearly cost me my job, and had turned my once bright world into a murky mess of despair and isolation. It was time to paint my truth with her colors. Just stay calm, I whispered to myself as I opened the door. Laura stood there, dressed in a simple blue dress that contrasted sharply with the stormy night. Her smile was wide, displaying an innocence that made my stomach churn. She had no idea what was coming. "Hey, Marina, thanks for inviting me over. I hope I'm not too late," she chirped. I offered a tight smile, forcing the warmth into my voice. "Not at all, come in. I have a little something for you." I could see curiosity flit across her features as she stepped inside my home, shaking off the raindrops that clung to her like unwanted memories. "So, what's the occasion? A surprise?" She glanced around, taking in the dimly lit room, the candles flickering with a soft glow, casting dancing shadows on the walls. "Something like that. Let me get the drinks." I tried to keep my tone light, though each second felt weighted with the significance of our history. I moved into the kitchen, feeling her gaze linger on my back. Shivers raced down my spine, half from the cold and half from anticipation. I took a moment to gather my resolve, pouring 2 glasses of wine. I needed her to feel relaxed, almost indulgent before the storm hit. The ruby liquid swirled beautifully in the glass, a stark reminder of the passion that had once tied us together, now poisoned with months of betrayal. I returned to the living room, holding the glasses out toward her. "Here, I thought we could enjoy a little toast to friendship." Laura's eyes sparkled with genuine excitement. "Oh, you're too sweet. Cheers." She clinked her glass against mine, and we both took a sip. The wine tasted rich and smooth, but it did little to quell the tension that hummed in the air. "What's been going on with you?" Laura asked as she settled into the plush couch, crossing her legs, a picture of comfort as if she truly felt at home in my life again. "Things have been interesting," I replied, searching for the right words. "I've had some time to think about everything that happened, with Jim and how everything crumbled." I watched her reaction closely, waiting for any hint of guilt or recognition. "Oh, that," she said, her expression seeming to waver for just a moment. "I really didn't mean for it to go down like that. I thought you guys were over." I inhaled sharply. "You thought, or did you want it to be that way?" Confusion clouded her face, and I pressed on. "You took something from me, Laura. You took my trust, my happiness, and you tossed it away carelessly without thinking twice." "Marina, I did." I cut her off, the fire in my belly bubbling to the surface. "Didn't what? Didn't realize how your actions would affect me, that I would lose my job, my reputation because of your reckless behavior." She opened her mouth to speak, but the words faltered as if they choked within her. A flicker of regret flashed in her doe-like eyes. "I thought you were strong enough to handle it. I didn't want to hurt you." Strong enough? Ha! I couldn't stop the bitter laugh that escaped my lips, slicing through the silence. "You think strength is about weathering a storm? I was drowning, Laura, drowning in the aftermath you left behind." I leaned forward, my heart pounding wildly. "Did you even feel any remorse when you were with him?" The question hung in the air, a heavy weight that settled between us. She looked down, fiddling nervously with her hands, her facade cracking. I didn't mean for you to find out. It wasn't supposed to happen that way." "How was it supposed to happen then? To be hidden under the rug while you paraded around like the queen of everything? I was your friend, your closest friend. You didn't even care enough to tell me." Tears glistened in the corners of her eyes, but I wasn't feeling sympathetic anymore. I wanted answers. "Do you know what it feels like to realize your best friend is sleeping with your boyfriend? Your entire world flips upside down. I was the punchline to a sick joke." "I just wanted to be happy. I didn't think you would." "Of course you didn't think." I shot back, my voice sharper than I intended. "That's the problem. You never think about anyone but yourself." Laura's expression shifted from sadness to anger, a fleeting spark of defiance igniting in her eyes. "What do you expect me to say?" "I can't change what happened, Marina." "Maybe you can't, but you can stop pretending like it was all innocent. You played your part and now you must face the consequences." "What are you talking about?" she asked, voice rising slightly. Anger battled with confusion on her face. "You see it. This isn't just a friendly get-together anymore. Your actions caused ripples, and I'm not sure you understand just how deep they go." With a heavy breath, I reached for the small box tucked away on the side table, picking it up and placing it between us. "This is for you." "What is it?" she asked, brow furrowed in suspicion. "Open it, and perhaps you'll find out just how much you've lost." She hesitated before lifting the lid with tentative fingers. A glimmer of shock crossed her face as she peered inside. "Marina, this is just a necklace." "Not just any necklace, Laura," I countered, my voice low and steady. "It belonged to my grandmother." "Beautiful, elegant, perfect, just like everything you pretend to be." I took a deep breath, allowing the words to seep out slowly. "I had to break it into pieces because of you. I had to dismantle everything that reminded me of the love I once had, the friendships I thought I could trust. So here it is in pieces, just like we are, just like my heart was." Her eyes widened, and for a moment I thought she might truly grasp the gravity of her actions. "Why would you do this?" She whispered, anguish mingling with indignation. "Because I needed you to understand," I replied quietly. "There are things you cannot fix or replace, Laura. You've shattered my trust, and reshaping it is not something you can just wish away." "It was a mistake. I was wrong." She seemed desperate, therapy words spilling from her lips unfiltered. "I regret everything. You have to believe me." "Is that so? Regret is a terrible bedfellow, isn't it? A restless companion that keeps you awake at night." I widened my smile, a cold one that seeped the warmth from the room. "Did you ever think about what you would lose, what you would destroy?" "I told you save it. You thought you could keep playing the game without consequences. Life isn't like Monopoly, Laura. You can't just pass go without dealing with your debts." "Then what now?" she said, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Now," I echoed, savoring the final moment of this confrontation. "Now you have the chance to understand what it truly feels like to lose something valuable. You don't get to just walk away. No matter how much you want to pretend everything is fine, it is. Just like this necklace, I have to piece myself back together too, but you'll never share in that journey." The fire that had burned inside me flickered, the backlash of emotions threatening to engulf me. None of this felt good or satisfying anymore. Instead, it felt hollow. "Marina, please." "I just want to fix this," Laura cried, her voice breaking. "But you can't. You broke it, and now all we can do is carry forward the pieces, shattered and jagged." I stood up, the distance between us feeling insurmountable. "Remember this moment, Laura. Remember the weight of your actions. Maybe one day you will understand." She reached for my hand, but I withdrew, retreating into the shadows once more, leaving her alone in the dim light of my living room. Surrounding her with shattered echoes of our past, the fading light of dusk began to weave golden threads through the trees lining Cedar Creek's quiet streets as I stood outside the place that had held so much of my past, the Grayson house. With its peeling paint and cracked windows, it looked almost haunted, a ghost of the vibrant home it once had been. I took a deep breath, the crisp autumn air filling my lungs, carrying with it the scent of damp leaves and distant wood smoke. Today felt different, charged with an energy that puzzled and excited me. Today I was not just Marina Thompson, the quiet woman from Cedar Creek. I was a catalyst, ready to ignite a long-awaited reckoning. I glanced down the pathway, knowing Vincent would arrive any minute. He had been a stubborn thorn in my side for years, the epitome of betrayal. I remembered vividly the day he chose his ambition over our friendship, how he took the project we had poured our souls into and sold it out from under me, their smiling faces in the boardroom like ghosts dancing in the flickering candlelight of my memories. That betrayal had transformed my life into a series of heavy days, each one weighed down by the burden of lost dreams and disrupted trust. Suddenly, my phone buzzed in my pocket, jolting me from my thoughts. I pulled it out, glancing at the screen. A message from him, of course. "I will be there in 10 minutes, it read. Part of me felt a thrill at the imminent confrontation. I turned and approached the front door, which creaked open with a gentle tug, revealing the dimly lit interior. Dust motes danced in the fading rays of sunlight filtering through the grimy windows. A chill washed over me, but it was not entirely unwelcome. This was the place where we had planned our futures, envisioned the success that had somehow turned to ash. I stepped inside, my shoes whispering against the wooden floorboards that creaked underfoot. The air was stale, filled with the scent of old newspaper and forgotten dreams. As I moved deeper, shadows settled around me, and I felt the walls closing in, memories flooding back, laughter, promises, and the sweetness of young ambitions slowly curdling into something bitter. I recalled how we had talked late into the night, our dreams woven together as tightly as the threads in a tapestry. And yet here I was, alone in a house now a mere echo of what it used to be. The clock on the wall ticked relentlessly, each second adding to the weight of anticipation hanging in the air. I stood in the hallway, heart racing, every creak of the house echoing my unease. I checked my phone again. 7 minutes. Time stretched and warped in those moments. Finally, I heard the crunch of gravel outside, and I knew he was here. I took a steadying breath. The moment I had been waiting for was upon me. I walked to the door and opened it wide, revealing Vincent standing there, a familiar yet unwelcome face that tugged at tangled emotions inside me. His smile, that confident, self-assured grin that used to charm people, faded slightly when he saw the storm brewing in my expression. "Marina," he started, his voice smooth like syrup, attempting to mask the tension that lay between us. "You look good. I wasn't sure if you would agree to meet." "I almost didn't," I admitted, biting the inside of my cheek as I leaned against the doorframe. "But I figured it was time we talked, or rather I talked and you listened." That took him aback, the jovial mask beginning to slip. "Okay, I am listening. What is this all about?" he asked, crossing his arms defensively. My pulse quickened. "We are standing in front of the Grayson house, the foundation of everything we built together." "Or rather, everything you stole from me," I said, my tone sharp and unyielding. Vincent uncrossed his arms at that, his brows knitting together in confusion. "Stole? Marina, that is quite an accusation. I didn't steal anything. I was trying to make the best decision for our future." "Your future, not ours, Vincent," I snapped, the rage flaring up like a wildfire ignited by the right kindling. "You made a choice that day, remember? You traded our dreams for a promotion, for a taste of success." He took a step back, the facade of confidence trembling. "It was a business decision, Marina. You have to understand. The company needed someone who could lead, and I was qualified. I thought you'd be happy for me." "Happy?" I laughed, a bitter sound. "Do you think that by burying our dreams and throwing me to the side, I would somehow be proud? I felt betrayed. You crushed everything we had worked for." "Do you realize what that did to me?" Vincent looked pained for a moment, then shrugged, as if trying to shake off the weight of my accusations. "It is in the past now. Why dwell on it? We could still work together. There's a project in the pipeline, a chance to build something new. We just need to let bygones be bygones." I stepped closer, feeling the ground beneath my feet harden with resolve. "You do not get it, do you? This isn't about working together again. This is about you owning your betrayal. You have to understand it, feel it, before I can even think about moving on." There was a flicker of something in his eyes, defensiveness, perhaps, or it could be guilt. I wasn't sure, and honestly, I didn't care at that moment. Marina, please, it was years ago. I have changed. I thought we were both moving on. Have you? Or have you just repackaged your selfishness in a nicer bow? I challenged, pressing on. You can dress it up any way you want, but the heart of the issue will always be the same. Look, we made mistakes. I was young, we both were, he retorted, voice rising as frustration built. I've been trying to make things right since then. Make things right? I sneered. What does that even mean to you? You expect me to just forgive and forget? This isn't reality television where we coalesce on screen and act like friends afterward. He ran a hand nervously through his hair, frustration morphing into regret. I simply want to start over. You are an amazing talent, and we had something special. So why not be partners one more time? I shook my head, disappointment flooding through me like a tide of ice. The past isn't something you can simply wipe clean, Vincent. You took something precious to me, and you need to understand the depth of that loss. You talk about wanting to start over, but do you even feel remorse? Do you even understand what I went through? For a moment, his expression softened, the mask he hid behind shattering slightly. I do regret it, I do. I didn't realize how much our dream meant to you. I was so focused on climbing the corporate ladder. I should have never let you down. Then actually admit it. Own your mistake. Don't just wish it away. Silence fell around us, the air thick with our unspoken emotions. The twilight cast shadows on his face, illuminating the struggle behind his eyes. You are right, he finally said softly. I should have been better. You deserved better. I am sorry, truly. There was something genuine in his tone, and for the briefest moment, I considered letting it go, releasing the grip of my anger. You are sorry, but what does that do for me? What can you say that would change the depth of the disappointment I feel? My trust took years to build, and you dug into it like a knife. His gaze lifted to mine, full of genuine regret now, vulnerability cracking through the bravado. I can't change the past, but I want to be better. I want to fight for what's right, and for you, if you will allow me. I searched his expression for sincerity, wanting to find a glimpse of the friend I once knew beneath the layers of betrayal. So what is this? A desire to redeem yourself, this so-called partnership? What does this really mean? He took a step closer, closing the distance between us, the air thickening with unvoiced apologies and lingering hurt. I'm asking for your forgiveness, Marina, to work together again, to learn from the past, and this time I will not hold back. I promise. I felt my chest tighten, caught between the whisper of hope and the echo of past pain. You make promises, Vincent, but in this world they are made of sand. I need something solid beneath my feet. He reached out then, his hand simply resting on the old banister, the cracks showing the signs of age. Just give me the chance to show you that I mean it. I want to prove that I can be the person you once thought I could be. Time seemed to stretch as I wrestled with my thoughts, the swirling storm of emotions leaving me disoriented. It will take more than just words. It will take actions, Vincent. But I don't think I can just move on without holding you accountable. I understand. Then hold me accountable. I will make it right, he said, the earnestness in his voice catching me off guard. I will prove it to you every single day until you believe it. The shadows began to lengthen as I stepped back, my heart pounding in my chest. We can talk more about this, but I'm not ready, Vincent. I need time. You have to earn back what you lost. The hope in his eyes flickered, but it was there. I will. Until then, I promise to wait. As I closed the door behind him, I felt a mix of relief and fear wash over me. The road to healing was just beginning, and though the path was filled with uncertainty, for the first time in years, I felt a spark of something. Maybe hope, maybe peace. But I had a long way to go before I could truly believe in either. And as I stood in the fading light, I knew that with every spark of hope came the necessity for resolve. The journey of revenge had transformed into one of healing, and I was finally on my way.